Commander Zalthrix adjusted the view screen as Earth's blue sphere filled the monitor. His scaled fingers tapped the command console with practiced precision, activating the ship's advanced cloaking field. Observation Pass 19 complete, reported Lieutenant Mevlorn from the sensor station, still detecting those quantum anomalies from Research Facility 7. Zalthrix nodded, his elongated cranial ridge catching the soft blue light of the bridge. After 2 decades studying Earth for the Galactic Conquests, he'd developed a peculiar affection for this isolated world and its inhabitants. "The Council wants answers," he said. "These quantum fluctuations shouldn't be possible from a pre-FTL civilization." The 17 species of the Concord had strict protocols. No contact until a planet developed faster than light travel independently. But Earth's scientists were progressing at an alarming rate, particularly in quantum mechanics. "Commander," Mevlorn's voice rose with uncharacteristic alarm. "Cloaking field integrity dropping." Zalthrix spun toward the diagnostics panel. "Impossible. Run system check." "Already did." "System's nominal. But the field is failing regardless." The ship shuddered slightly as they passed through Earth's upper atmosphere. On the view screen, the cloaking field flickered visibly, something that had never happened in the 8 centuries since the technology's development. "We're being scanned," reported Security Officer Vex. "Multiple ground installations tracking us." Zalthrix made a decision that would alter galactic history. "Ascend to orbital position. Prepare first contact protocols." "Commander." Vex's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in shock. "The Council hasn't authorized." "They'll authorize it when they learn our cloaking technology inexplicably failed only in Earth's proximity," Zalthrix interrupted. "Something unique is happening here." Within minutes, Earth's primitive but surprisingly effective defense systems had locked onto their position. Military aircraft approached with remarkable coordination. "They're surrounding us with admirable precision," noted Zalthrix. "Open channels." When no return communication came, Zalthrix made another unprecedented decision. "Prepare landing protocols." The ship descended toward a large military installation in a region the humans called Nevada. As they landed, hundreds of armed personnel surrounded them, weapons ready but not firing, showing remarkable restraint. Zalthrix activated the Universal Translator and stepped toward the airlock. "I will make first contact personally." "The Council will have your commission for this," warned Vex. "Perhaps," Zalthrix replied, "but something doesn't align with our understanding. No natural phenomenon should disrupt our cloaking technology. This warrants direct investigation." The airlock cycled open, revealing a gathering of stunned human faces. Behind their defensive lines stood scientists and military officials, their expressions a mixture of fear, wonder, and, most surprisingly, preparedness. A human female stepped forward, her uniform indicating high rank. "I am General Chen, United Earth Defense. We've been expecting contact for some time." Zalthrix's translator caught the words, but their meaning seemed impossible. "You were expecting us?" "Not you specifically," she replied with remarkable composure. "But our quantum research suggested intelligent life must exist beyond Earth. What we didn't expect was that you've been watching us already." Zalthrix realized the carefully planned first contact protocols established over millennia were now irrelevant. Across the planet, human communication networks broadcast images of his ship and his emergence. What puzzled him most wasn't the human's unexpected reaction, but rather how his advanced cloaking technology had failed only near Earth, something that had never happened in countless observation missions across the galaxy. As human scientists approached with their primitive but ingeniously designed scanning equipment, Zalthrix couldn't shake the feeling that everything the Concord thought they knew about Earth was wrong, perhaps dangerously wrong. 3 days after landing, the diplomatic exchanges were proceeding with remarkable smoothness. Commander Zalthrix sat across from a multinational human delegation inside a hastily repurposed conference facility. Your willingness to share information about non-weaponized technologies is appreciated, said Ambassador Okonkwo, leading the human diplomatic team. But your medical officer's behavior during yesterday's session seemed concerning. Zalthrix shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Vreen had indeed been acting strangely, constantly adjusting her bioscanner whenever humans entered the room. A misunderstanding, he assured them. Dr. Vreen is simply curious about your physiology. Later, in the privacy of their vessel, Zalthrix confronted his medical officer. "What exactly are you doing that's alarming our hosts?" he demanded. Dr. Vreen's inner membranes fluttered anxiously. "Commander, I've been scanning their neural patterns, and something's wrong. Or rather, something's impossible." She activated a holographic display showing comparative brain scans. "This is a standard Concord species neural pathway. Notice the quantum field alignment alongside the cellular structures, consistent with all known intelligent life forms." She swiped, revealing the human brain scan. "And this is a human." Zalthrix stared. Even with his limited medical knowledge, he could see the difference. "Their patterns are chaotic." "Not chaotic," Vreen corrected. "Non-linear. Their neural pathways process information in ways that violate known biological principles. They're achieving quantum coherent states within organic tissue that should be impossible." "Meaning what, exactly?" "Meaning they process information differently than any species we've encountered. They make cognitive leaps that," she hesitated, "that shouldn't be possible without technological enhancement." The next morning, as diplomatic discussions continued, Dr. Elena Kazan, Earth's leading quantum physicist, approached Zalthrix during a break. "Your ship's propulsion system," she said without preamble. "It manipulates quantum fields to create localized space-time distortions, doesn't it?" Zalthrix froze. That was classified information he hadn't shared. "What makes you ask that?" "Because we've been working on something similar." She handed him a data tablet displaying complex equations. "Does this look familiar?" It did, disturbingly so. The mathematical model was crude compared to Concord standards, but the underlying principles were unmistakable. Humans had independently developed theoretical frameworks approaching Concord quantum mechanics. "I'd like to show you something," Dr. Kazan said, privately. Against protocol, Zalthrix followed her to a secured laboratory beneath the facility. Inside stood a device unmistakably similar to a quantum field manipulator, though built with Earth's primitive materials. "We call it a quantum coherence visualizer," she explained, activating the device. The three-dimensional model of interacting subatomic particles appeared, shifting in real time. "Impressive simulation," Zalthrix commented diplomatically. "It's not a simulation," Dr. Kazan corrected. "It's direct observation. We're seeing quantum states without collapsing their wave functions." Zalthrix's translator must have malfunctioned. What she described was theoretically impossible without technology centuries beyond Earth's development. That would require processing capabilities that we shouldn't have, she finished for him. "Yes, we've heard that from your Dr. Vreen. She's been scanning us rather obviously." When Zalthrix returned to his ship, Dr. Vreen was waiting with new data. "I've discovered why they're different," she said, displaying Earth's magnetic field. "This planet's unique geomagnetic properties interact with human brain development in ways seen nowhere else in the galaxy. It's as if this planet was specifically designed to cultivate their neural patterns." Zalthrix recalled ancient texts he'd studied at the Academy, texts describing Earth with reverence as the cradle of potential. For the first time, he began to understand why. "This is unprecedented," Professor Liu said, her eyes scanning the alien text scrolling across her screen. "Your historical archives contain linguistic patterns we've never encountered, yet somehow they feel familiar." 2 weeks after first contact, the Concord had granted humanity limited access to their historical database as a gesture of goodwill. A team of Earth's top linguists and historians have been working around the clock to decipher the records. Zalthrix observed with growing fascination. Those sections have remained untranslated for generations. Our linguists classified them as ceremonial text with no practical meaning. Professor Liu shook her head. They're not ceremonial. They're encrypted. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, and were beginning to crack the code. Across the room, Dr. Elena Kazan watched the proceedings with barely concealed impatience. The physicist had been pushing for more access to Concord technological data rather than historical records. Commander, she approached Zalthrix. While the history lesson is fascinating, my team has made advancements I believe your people would find interesting. Later, in Elena's laboratory, she revealed a quantum communication device that shouldn't have been possible with Earth's technology level. We've managed to establish quantum entanglement across unprecedented distances, she explained. But something strange happens when we push beyond certain parameters. She activated the device. The holographic display showed a familiar pattern, one that matched certain Concord navigational charts. You've mapped the quantum substrate of local space, Zalthrix said, unable to hide his astonishment. Is that what you call it? Elena smiled. We discovered it by accident while trying to develop faster communication systems. Zalthrix's communicator chirped with an encrypted message from the Concord Council. Increased surveillance authorized on human quantum research. Acquire samples of all technology. That evening, Elena found 3 microscopic devices in her laboratory, advanced surveillance technology placed by the Concord delegation. Instead of removing them, she staged an elaborate demonstration for her team the next day, knowing the aliens would be watching. Today we're testing the 4th-generation prototype, she announced loudly. The equipment she unveiled was far more advanced than what she had previously shown Zalthrix. As the team activated the device, it generated a stable quantum field that should have required technology centuries beyond Earth's development. The surveillance devices transmitted everything back to the Concord ship. Meanwhile, in another facility, Professor Liu made a breakthrough with the encrypted texts. Commander, you need to see this, she called Zalthrix urgently. These records aren't just history. They're warnings. The translated text revealed Earth was not simply another developing world. It had been the laboratory of the precursors, ancient beings who had seeded the galaxy with life and established the foundations of the Concord itself. Earth was special, Professor Liu explained. According to these texts, it was designed as an incubator for a specific type of intelligence. When Zalthrix reported these developments to his superiors, their response was immediate. Contain all information regarding precursor references, classification level maximum. That night, as Zalthrix struggled with his growing ethical conflict, his ship detected a transmission from Concord High Command to the nearest patrol fleet. Though partially encrypted, the message was clear. Reinforcements were being dispatched to Earth. In her laboratory, Dr. Kazan reviewed footage from her hidden cameras that had recorded Concord officers secretly scanning and sampling her technology. Instead of anger, she smiled. They had taken exactly what she had wanted them to see. They still don't understand, she murmured to herself. We're not catching up to them. In some ways, we've already moved beyond them. Emergency session. Now. Zalthrix's voice cut through the standard greetings as he entered the secure conference room where Earth's multinational coordination team had gathered. General Chen raised an eyebrow. What's happened, Commander? My superiors have learned of your quantum technology advancements. He looked directly at Dr. Kazan, and they're responding. Poorly. On the main display, he projected an intercepted transmission. Although partially encrypted, key phrases stood out clearly. Containment protocol. Ancient directives. Security threat level maximum. You're being deployed against us, General Chen stated flatly. Not me, Zalthrix clarified. Admiral Kresh commands a battle fleet that departed from Proxima Station yesterday. They're enforcing containment protocols that predate modern Concord law. Containment? Dr. Kazan asked, her voice steady despite the implications. Zalthrix hesitated before answering. The historical texts your linguists decoded weren't just observations. They contained directives regarding Earth, specifically protocols to be implemented if your development accelerated beyond expected parameters. Expected by whom? Professor Liu demanded. The precursors. Yes. The texts suggest Earth was placed under observation because your species demonstrated unusual cognitive evolution. The directive states that if humans develop certain technologies before achieving cultural stability, intervention is mandatory. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You mean invasion, General Chen said. The directive doesn't specify. Containment could mean technological suppression, memory alteration, or Zalthrix couldn't finish the sentence. Or extinction, Dr. Kezen completed. Show them. Professor Liu activated a secure terminal. We completed more translations. The precursors engineered multiple species across the galaxy, each with different specializations, logical reasoning, physical adaptation, longevity. But humans were different. We were designed with enhanced neural plasticity. Meaning what, exactly? Asked Zalthrix. Dr. Kezen stepped forward. Meaning we perceive reality differently. What your scientists calculate through complex equations, we sometimes intuitively understand. To demonstrate, she activated a small device. Above it, quantum particles materialized, visibly entangled yet maintaining coherence. This isn't just technology, she explained. It's perception. Your species comprehends quantum mechanics mathematically. We can actually perceive quantum states directly under certain conditions. Impossible, Zalthrix whispered, though the evidence hovered before him. Earth's unique magnetic field interacts with our neural structure, Alina continued. It allows some humans to intuitively grasp quantum relationships that your most advanced eye systems can only model theoretically. Zalthrix struggled with this revelation. Everything in his training suggested humans should be contained for the galaxy's safety, yet everything he'd witnessed suggested that would be a catastrophic mistake. His communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. Admiral Kresh's fleet had accelerated to maximum velocity. They would reach Earth in 14 hours. I must make a decision, Zalthrix announced. My duty to the Concord or my duty to truth. General Chen leaned forward. What are you saying, Commander? Admiral Kresh will deploy quantum dampening fields designed to disable your technology and communications. But the fields were designed based on our understanding of quantum mechanics, not yours. And you think that matters? Asked Alina. I think, Zalthrix said carefully, that if humans truly perceive quantum reality differently, you might see solutions where we see none. He removed a secure data crystal from his uniform. These are the technical specifications of our defensive systems. I'm committing treason by sharing them, but I believe the Concord is making a terrible mistake. Dr. Kezen took the crystal, her expression solemn. 14 hours to prepare for an alien invasion. Let's get to work. Admiral Kresh's flagship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, followed by 11 battlecruisers. On the command deck, the Admiral surveyed the tactical display with cold efficiency. Primitive defenses, he noted. No orbital platforms of consequence. Begin the containment protocol. On Earth, the atmosphere was tense but focused. Dr. Kezen had worked through the night with an international team of quantum physicists, analyzing the defense specifications Zalthrix had provided. Their systems operate on conventional quantum principles, she explained to the assembled military leaders. They expect our technology to collapse under targeted field disruption. And will it? General Chen asked bluntly. Elena smiled. No, because we've adapted our approach based on what we perceive that they don't. Zalthrix watched with fascination as the humans installed small devices at strategic locations around the planet. Each unit was deceptively simple, far less advanced than Concord technology, yet designed with intuitive elegance. You should evacuate to a secure facility, he advised General Chen. When Kresh realizes I've betrayed the Concord, he'll target this headquarters first. I'm staying, she replied firmly. We all are. In space, Kresh's fleet deployed in attack formation. Activate quantum dampening fields, he ordered. Disable their communications and defense systems. The battlecruisers released thousands of field projectors that entered Earth's atmosphere, spreading an invisible web of energy designed to disrupt all advanced technology. On the flagship's bridge, officers watched with confidence. This protocol had successfully contained 17 developing civilizations in the past. Field saturation at 60%, reported the tactical officer. 80%. 90%. Alarms suddenly blared across the command deck. Field projectors are malfunctioning, the officer announced, confusion evident in his voice. They're being redirected somehow. On screens throughout the flagship, the carefully deployed network of field projectors was behaving impossibly, their energy signatures suddenly inverting, connecting in patterns that made no logical sense. Impossible, Kresh muttered. How are they manipulating our fields without equivalent technology? On Earth, Dr. Kazan stood before a holographic display showing the alien field projectors. They're trying to establish a standard quantum disruption matrix, she explained to Zalthrix. But they've never encountered a non-standard approach. The small devices the humans had deployed weren't fighting against the alien fields. They were harmonizing with them, creating resonance patterns that transformed the disruptive energy into a stable network. You're not blocking their technology, Zalthrix realized. You're repurposing it. Exactly, Belina nodded. We saw a pattern they didn't expect us to see. In orbit, Kresh's flagship shuddered as its own systems began fluctuating. Our quantum fields are being reflected back, reported a panicked officer. Weapons systems offline. For the first time in centuries, a Concord military operation had failed completely. On the Concord homeworld, the High Council convened an emergency session. The historical archives were unsealed, revealing the complete truth about Earth and humanity's origin. The eldest counselor read aloud from the translated precursor directive. The Earth experiment represents our final attempt at creating a consciousness capable of perceiving quantum reality directly. While other species were designed for stability, predictability, and harmony, humans were deliberately created with a neural architecture, allowing them to see patterns invisible to standard cognition. She looked up at the assembled representatives of 17 species. The precursors didn't design humans to be contained. They designed them to see beyond our limitations. And now they have. As Admiral Kresh's powerless fleet hung in Earth's orbit, humanity's first victory in galactic politics was complete, achieved without firing a single shot. News of Admiral Kresh's defeat spread through the galaxy at quantum com speed. Within days, the carefully maintained political structure of the Galactic Concord began to fracture. 7 member species have withdrawn from the Concord already, Zalthrix reported during an emergency briefing with Earth's Unify Command. 3 have requested direct diplomatic relations with Earth. 4 others have formed a defensive coalition, fearing your capabilities. General Chen studied the galactic map with its shifting alliance indicators, and the remaining 6, still debating their position. The Concord hasn't faced a constitutional crisis of this magnitude in 12,000 years. Dr. Kazan, who had barely slept since the confrontation, looked up from her data tablet. We don't want enemies. We just want to be treated as equals. That's precisely what terrifies them, Zalthrix explained. Equal status for a species that can intuitively manipulate quantum fields in ways our most advanced civilizations cannot. The human delegation had leveraged their unexpected position of strength masterfully. Within 2 weeks, 17 separate diplomatic missions arrived from across the galaxy. Earth's representatives negotiated technology exchanges while carefully preserving their autonomy. Zalthrix, now officially designated as the Concord's ambassador to Earth, despite his act of treason, or perhaps because of it, watched with fascination as humans absorbed advanced technological concepts at rates that violated all established learning curves. What would take other species generations to assimilate, humans adapted to in months. Meanwhile, Professor Liu continued deciphering precursor archives with a team of linguists and xenorchaeologists. Their discoveries led them to an abandoned installation beneath the Martian surface, a facility untouched for millions of years. The architecture responds to human neural patterns, Professor Liu explained as the ancient doors opened to her touch. The technology here was designed to activate only when humans reached a certain developmental stage. Inside, they discovered technology operating on principles that even Zalthrix couldn't comprehend. Holographic displays activated automatically, showing star maps and quantum field models of breathtaking complexity. These aren't just records, Dr. Kazan realized as she studied the displays. They're instructions. The fragmented data suggested the precursors had faced a crisis they couldn't solve with their methodical, logical approach, a fundamental problem in the structure of reality itself. They had created humanity specifically to think differently, to see patterns and solutions where the precursors saw only insurmountable obstacles. On Earth, the global economy transformed as humans adapted alien technology to solve long-standing problems. Clean energy generation, food production, and environmental restoration advanced at unprecedented rates. Ancient conflicts faded as humanity united around their new place in the cosmos. In orbit, the once mighty fleet of Admiral Kresh remained powerless. The Admiral himself had been recalled to face charges of exceeding his authority, leaving his ships under temporary human supervision. "You could have destroyed them," Zalthrix observed to General Chen as they watched the alien vessels from a monitoring station. "Why didn't you?" "Because that's what you expected us to do," she replied simply. Predictable responses based on your understanding of evolutionary psychology. But we were designed to think differently, remember? As they spoke, a priority message arrived from the Martian installation. Dr. Kazan had activated a precursor communication system and detected a signal from deep space, a message that had been waiting millions of years for someone capable of understanding it. "Its coordinates," she reported, and a warning about something called dimensional instability. The true purpose of humanity's creation was finally revealing itself. 7 years after first contact, Earth had transformed. Gleaming cities incorporated alien technology with human designs. Spacecraft of human manufacture ventured beyond the solar system, guided by principles that merged Concord science with humanity's unique perspective. In a research complex built around the original Martian precursor facility, Dr. Elena Kezem led a team of human and alien scientists. The coordinates discovered years earlier had led them to establish an observation post near a seemingly unremarkable star system 30 light-years from Earth. "The readings make no sense," reported Dr. Vreen, who had remained on Earth despite the Concord's fragmentation. "According to every established model, that region of space should be stable. Yet our instruments detect quantum fluctuations growing stronger each month," Elena noted, studying the holographic display. "Something is happening there that defies conventional physics." For years, the collaborative research team had worked to understand the precursor message. Their breakthrough came not from technology, but from an unexpected source. A new mathematical framework developed by a 12-year-old prodigy from New Zealand. "She doesn't calculate the equations," Elena explained to Zalthrix. "She visualizes quantum relationships directly. It's the purest example we found of humanity's unique perception." Using this framework, the team achieved what the precursors themselves had only theorized: stable communication across dimensional boundaries. The complex device they built combined Concord engineering with human intuitive design, creating something entirely new. When they activated it, the message they received stunned everyone present. "We are those you call precursors." The translation appeared as both text and conceptual imagery. "We did not perish. We transcended." The message explained that the precursors had discovered a way to shift their consciousness to another dimensional plane. But their transcendence came with unexpected consequences, fractures in the fabric between dimensions. "In pursuing perfect knowledge, we damaged the very reality we sought to understand." The message continued. "Our transcendence created instabilities in the dimensional fabric, ruptures that have grown over millennia. The visual representation showed reality itself fraying at the coordinates they had been observing, like fabric coming unraveled at the seams. We created many species across the galaxy, each with specific capabilities, but only one was designed to perceive what we could not: the complex patterns of quantum reality that exist beyond mathematical modeling. On the observation screens, telescopes focused on the distant star system revealed impossible physics anomalies: light bending in ways that violated known laws, matter flickering between states of existence. Only beings with human consciousness can perceive these ruptures clearly enough to repair them, the message explained. Your neural architecture allows you to see patterns we could not, despite our advancement. The precursors had designed humanity for this specific purpose, isolated on Earth until their minds developed the necessary complexity. The unusual magnetic field that had helped shape human brain development was no accident. It was a deliberate incubator for a specific kind of consciousness. We engineered other species for harmony, efficiency, and logical progression, the message revealed. We created humans for creative disorder, for intuitive leaps, for seeing beyond established patterns. What others might see as your flaws, emotional variability, cognitive inconsistency, are your greatest strengths. As the message concluded, new data streamed in from the observation post. The dimensional rupture was expanding more rapidly. Conservative estimates gave them less than 2 years before the effects began to spread to nearby star systems. We were created to solve this, Alina said softly. Everything, our entire evolutionary history, was leading to this moment. Earth became the center of the most ambitious project in galactic history. Ships from all species converged on our solar system, bringing resources, knowledge, and technology. The fractured Concord reunited around a single purpose: supporting humanity in their effort to repair the dimensional ruptures. We've completely redesigned the quantum drive, Dr. Kazan explained to the Unified Command. She stood before representatives from 26 species, many of whom had been enemies only months earlier. By incorporating what we perceive about dimensional boundaries, we can reach the affected region in time. The expedition fleet departed Earth orbit amid ceremonies broadcast across thousands of worlds. 37 ships of various designs, all modified with human-developed quantum technology, entered the newly created dimensional slipstream. Commander Zalthrix, who had requested to join the mission, stood on the bridge of the lead vessel beside General Chen and Dr. Kazan. We're approaching the rupture zone, the navigation officer announced. Through the viewports, space itself seemed to shimmer and distort. Instruments registered impossible readings as reality itself began to unravel. Conventional sensors are useless here, reported a Concord science officer, frustration evident in her voice. The physics are too chaotic to establish any pattern. That's because you're looking for order, Dr. Kazan said. She activated a special display designed by her team. We need to see the chaos itself. The holographic projection showed swirling patterns of quantum energy that seemed random and disjointed to most observers. But to the human scientists, patterns emerged within the apparent disorder. It's like harmonic resonance, explained Alina. The dimensional barriers aren't just tearing. They are vibrating at specific frequencies. The patterns repeat fractally across different scales. While alien scientists struggled to comprehend the data mathematically, humans intuitively recognized the underlying structure. Dr. Kazan directed the deployment of dimensional resonators, devices that didn't just patch the fractures but transformed the instabilities into self-reinforcing anchors. We're not fighting against the ruptures, she explained. We're working with them, converting the destructive energy into a stabilizing force. As the devices activated, the shimmering distortions began to calm. Sensors registered the impossible: dimensional stability returning to regions that had been chaotic moments before. It's working, General Chen announced, her voice carrying across the communications network to thousands of observers throughout the galaxy. As the fleet completed their mission, a new transmission came through the dimensional communication device. The precursors established permanent contact, their consciousness spanning realities that most species could barely comprehend. "You have succeeded where we could not," they communicated. "We created many potential solutions to the dimensional problem across the galaxy, but humanity was the only one that survived its own development to reach this moment." The final truth was revealed. The traits once seen as human weaknesses, curiosity that often led to danger, creativity born from internal conflict, intuition that sometimes defied logic, had proven to be precisely what the universe needed. As the fleet returned to Earth, celebrations erupted across thousands of worlds. In the new galactic order, humanity stood not as conquerors or the conquered, but as something far more profound, the species that could see what others couldn't, bringing harmony to the very fabric of existence. Admiral Kresh, once Earth's would-be conqueror, stood before the human delegation and formally presented the highest honor the Concord could bestow. "When we discovered the truth about Earth," he acknowledged, "everything changed forever. Not just for humans, but for all sentient life across reality itself."